All right, sweet dreamer. Let's dim the torches and shuffle over to a particularly misunderstood historical role, one that people feared, hated, and whispered about over their moldy porridge. Tonight's tale: the medieval executioner. Sounds cool, right? A guy in a hood, carrying a big axe, probably doing cool poses like he's the final boss in a video game. Except, in reality, it was less final boss and more final depressed guy in a shack outside town. Let's back up. You didn't apply, you were stuck with it. Contrary to popular belief, nobody wanted to be an executioner. There wasn't a line outside the village hall full of hopefuls with sharpened axes and LinkedIn recommendations. In fact, in many parts of Europe, the job was passed down hereditarily. That's right. If your dad chopped heads for a living, congrats kid, you're in the family business. So you grow up watching your father wipe blood off his tunic while the village kids refuse to play with you? No birthday invites, no sweet medieval Tinder matches, just long days, longer nights, and the knowledge that people only say your name when they're terrified. The work? Messy. Emotionally and otherwise. People think executioners just swung axes, but that's like saying chefs just boil water. Your to-do list included hanging people, burning people, drawing and quartering people, boiling people alive, breaking limbs on the wheel. Oh, and the old standby, beheading. Each method came with its own tools, techniques, and opportunities to horribly mess up in front of a judgmental crowd. Take beheading, for example. That clean single swing? Rare. It often took several attempts, especially if your axe was dull, your arms were tired, or your target kept moving. The crowd would groan, the condemned would scream, and you just keep swinging. Imagine trying to cut a watermelon in half while someone's yelling, "You suck," from the sidelines. Now imagine that watermelon is alive and begging you not to do it. Everyone feared you and needed you. Here's the weird paradox. Your job was vital. No one else wanted to do it, but the whole system depended on you. Justice needed to be seen, and nothing says "don't steal a chicken" like a public beheading in the town square. But despite being important, you were socially radioactive. People crossed the street to avoid you. Bartenders refused to serve you. You couldn't attend church with normal people. So you sat in the back, like a sinful bouncer at a holy nightclub. Even your family was shunned. Some laws even prevented executioners from marrying non-executioners. It's like a terrible matchmaking app. No normal people allowed, must love heads. You lived outside the town walls, literally. Executioners were often forced to live in huts or homes just outside the city gates, symbolically and physically excluded from society. Your address was basically past the smell near the gallows left at the pit. Your neighbors were usually rats, ghosts, or some guy with boils who never blinked. It was quiet, except for the moaning. Inside, your house wasn't a home. It was a grim little museum of horror. You had to store your tools. Axes, hooks, knives, ropes, and sometimes body parts. Some executioners kept relics from their work, like fingers or skulls, to sell to weirdos who believed they had magical powers. Imagine a medieval Etsy store with truly bad vibes. Food, sleep, and gross side gigs. So how did you eat? Barely. Payment was inconsistent. You might get coins, food, or clothes from the city council. But if your services weren't needed for a while, well, no income. No gigs, no groceries. You were a gig worker before it was cool. So you took side jobs, gruesome ones. You cleaned up after torture sessions, dug graves, disposed of diseased bodies during plagues. Sometimes you were tasked with flaying criminals alive, which was not great for the appetite. You'd come home after a day like that, lie down on your straw mattress and just stare at the ceiling, existentially, while the rats whispered. As for sleep, it wasn't restful. You weren't exactly sleeping in a 4-poster bed with lavender pillows. You were on a hay-stuffed sack, probably with lice, definitely with guilt. People cursed your name in their dying breaths. Some swore they'd haunt you. And in a time when ghosts were considered medically real, that hits different. Weird perks, but not really. Okay, not everything was doom and gloom. There were some perks. You were allowed to take the clothes off the people you executed. So you'd occasionally strut around in a nobleman's tunic, bloodstains included. Very dead but make it fashion. You also got body parts. For science, of course. Physicians paid good money for fresh cadavers to poke, prod, and dissect. So technically, you were contributing to the advancement of medical knowledge, just through your side hustle as a corpse middleman. Oh, and one more perk, free booze. Some towns gave executioners a beer allowance because it turns out watching heads roll is really stressful. Shocker.
You couldn't even retire in peace.
Eventually, you got old. Your swing wasn't as strong. Your hands trembled. And suddenly, people started whispering about how you botched the last one. No pension, no retirement party. Just fewer jobs, more suspicion. Sometimes the townsfolk got tired of you. They blamed you for the blood in the streets. Or maybe a nobleman's cousin got the axe and now there's a bounty on your head. So you disappear. Maybe to another town. Maybe to the woods. Maybe you take off the hood and become just another sad old man in a tavern, mumbling about the wheel and sipping free ale with shaking hands. So next time you have a bad day at work, remember, at least you're not wearing a hood, standing in a muddy square with a rusted axe and an angry crowd demanding justice before lunchtime. Sleep tight. And if you hear footsteps in the dark tonight, it's probably not a ghost. It's just your friendly neighborhood executioner, wondering if you've got any spare bread.